Are you in the process of starting or growing your own academic coaching business? And if so, I wonder if there are some ways that you actually are limiting your ability to show up as your own big, bold, beautiful self and draw in even more clients. I suspect that's true, but instead, don't take my word for it. Listen into the next video where I'm going to talk you through 4 sneaky ways that we hide in our business building and some things to do instead, and then even give you some example language from the coaches in my anti-boring educators community about how you really can show up even more as yourself. Check it out. All right, so today, just this morning, I led the monthly Rock Your Biz call. And in that call, all of the folks who are starting or growing their academic coaching businesses under my guidance show up and we connect with community together. And I never know what's going to happen in those calls. It depends on the questions people have. In the case of today, people didn't actually show up with any questions, but instead, what I noticed was everybody was showing up with these big open hearts. And the conversation moved in the direction of how can I be more my authentic self in my business? Because what's the point of starting a business? It's scary and hard, right? If I can't be more of myself in something I created for myself than I could as a teacher in a school, just as an example. So when I hit end after that call. First of all, I was very moved. My eyes were wet with tears. And I wasn't the only one who had been moved during that call. But I immediately sat down to unpack, like, what are the sneaky ways that we actually hide our true selves when we are working to build or to grow our businesses as academic coaches? And I came up with 4 that I noticed seemed to be prevalent, at least during the community call today in my Anti-Boring Educators Club. So let's look at these one by one. The first one here is whenever you hear yourself say like, oh, I'm trying to be professional, or one of the coaches said, I'm trying to balance being myself with being professional. Like, notice that, balance being myself with being professional. Why do we have to balance that? Why is professional different than being myself? Huh? I mean, I understand because I buy into that story too, and I'm constantly noticing myself in that balance. But what I'm discovering in my own business, and as I watch countless other educators start their own businesses, and as I watch students learn how to study more effectively, is part of that is stop trying to be professional as if it's something outside of yourself. And how do you be more something inside yourself instead? We'll talk more about the antidote to these 4 things in a moment, but first I want to share the other signs. So catching yourself being professional is one of them. Then this next one is catching yourself using words to describe what you're doing that are just really general. I mean, when you're starting your business from the very beginning, it's easy to stay general because you don't even know how to get more specific yet. But when you're just like, yeah, I help students, like what I used to say, which was actually very effective, is I help students who struggle in school with time management, organization, and study skills. Like, that's a fine thing to tell people you do. And it's still general. If on my page of trained coaches, you look there and you see everyone saying the same thing about helping students with time management and study skills, you don't know how to differentiate. You don't know how to, if you are a parent or a student, how to choose somebody who's actually a good fit for you. So we need to learn how to get more specific. The third thing here is if you find yourself caught in a spiral of wordsmithing. I really notice this with coaches. They have a hard time getting their first drafts of the things I ask them to do, their one sentence of what they do, the quote unquote elevator pitch, or what I call the tiny description, or your paragraph, or some longer copy for your website. They just struggle and struggle and struggle. Oh, or your outreach letter. Did I mention this? I don't think so. that's telling folks about the work that you're doing. And they can stay in draft after draft after draft. And at some point, you just gotta send something, right? So you might be hiding something that is your true self if you're stuck in the wordsmithing. Then the last theme that I heard is sometimes people, like when people in the club, I call it the Anti-Boring Educators Club, would send stuff out to our club email address for people to look at. It's like, oh, well, I was trying to keep it short, or I didn't want to bother anybody. And when we're worried about keeping it short or not bothering people, there's a part of ourself, our deeper self, that we're probably hiding. Because why not bother people? Don't people deserve to know about you, and especially the truth about who you are and this gift that you are providing students? So these are 4 signs. If you notice any of this happening, you might be hiding part of yourself there. So in the rest of this video, what I'm going to be doing is sharing some antidotes or some things to be doing instead of these 4 things. And then at the very end, I'm going to share with you some specific language that the coaches in our community call today shared, because what we ended up doing during the call is just going around and practicing saying out loud what we think our specialty inside academic coaching is. And that's when people got really specific. It's also when some tears came out, and it's also when they were just so compelling to hear what the person did, because they were so emotionally grounded. And they were all of these things here on the what to try instead list. So don't be professional, be personal. Another way of saying this could be emotional, be vulnerable. Like, what's the most personal detail you're willing to share right now that is related to the topic of academic coaching and why you're doing that? Start there. And then be specific as possible. And we'll look at what that looks like at the very end of this video. And then this was a mantra that was given to me by my mentor back in the day. In 2013, when I went to my very first training, marketing training, take imperfect action. My mentor actually said, build the plane while flying it. That's probably a phrase that many of you have heard before. I hadn't, though. And it struck fear in me. Build the plane while flying it? Like, that sounds terrible. But I really took it on. And I also needed to pay attention to my own comfort and my own nervous system regulation. So I needed to create some basics. Just like even in this video, my basics were making the whiteboards. By the way, this was my imperfect action. I didn't know exactly what I was going to say about it, but I thought, I'll make the whiteboards. They'll hopefully keep me going. And I bet I'll figure out what I need to say, because otherwise I would have stayed in the wordsmithing spiral for too long and not actually gotten any videos done. The last one here, this was in place of trying to keep it short or not bother people with too much detail, is actually start with being relational. If you notice yourself like, oh, I want to keep it short, then instead think about, what is the relationship with the person or the group of people that I am communicating with right now? And what is my heart connected relationship to them, and how can I lead with that? And then maybe keep it short, but don't hide the relational part of the communicating in place of just saying, hey, here's this opportunity that I've put together. Will you attend? Okay. So hang tight. I've got a few little administrative details that I need to do with you, and then I have a third whiteboard where I'm going to share with you some of the specific language that came out during the call today that was so powerful. Speaking of specific, if you would like some specific guidelines for how to create inevitable success for yourself, I actually have a wonderful downloadable chart. You can go to gretchenwegner.com/success, and you can actually find out my 8 tips for how to make sure these are actually mindsets that you can incorporate these are mindsets that you can incorporate to make sure that you actually don't fall prey to some of these signs of not being your true self. So head on over there, download it. It's actually a printable. You can put it on your fridge or in your office space. And I highly recommend you using this list to guide you as you try to create success for yourself, whether that's a business for yourself or whether it is something else that you are working towards in your life. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, though, is I just want to tell you strongly to consider joining my Anti-Boring Educators Club. Yeah, really consider surrounding yourself with loving community who are together practicing, deepening our ability to show up as professionals in the world, but as professionals who are our true selves. And when we get to be our true self and we get support in community to be that, oh my goodness, having your own business is joyful. It is meaningful and it is connecting, and I want that for you. So please consider going to my website at gretchenwagner.com and looking over the page for edupreneurs to see if my program might be right for you. And just by the way, that particular website has the information you need, but it's also kind of ugly because I'm taking imperfect action. Right now, I put it up there without hiring a designer. So you get to see modeled for you, taking imperfect action step by step. Okay, and the last favor that I want to ask from you is to like and subscribe, maybe comment below. All of these actions truly, truly help me. It's actually not free to consistently create this kind of content for YouTube, but I am passionate about sharing what I notice with the world because I think it might help you, whether you're an educator or whether you're an edupreneur who wants to make money for yourself. And I give freely, and I ask for you to also freely just click in gratitude. And it truly actually helps me make money, seriously. So it helps support the program. All right. We have made it to the end, and I wanted to give you some examples of the specific language that different coaches in our community came up with today to talk about their specialty, what makes their coaching more meaningful and connected, and what they can speak to because of their own life experiences. So the first one here, one of the coaches said that he really excels at working with boys generally, but then specifically boys who don't know how to be themselves because they're trying not to buy into toxic masculinity, this phrase that is all the buzz in the worldwide web culture. And he really specializes in helping them learn their academic skills while also reflecting how to be more and more yourself related to masculinity. Somebody else said that because he is a first-generation college student himself who made a lot of mistakes that he wished he had some guidance around when he was going through school, he's passionate about helping other first-generation college students who want to be there because they have to, because they know that it's the only way that they can create change for themselves and their families, and they want to be there, but they also need someone to guide them and mentor them along the way. How beautiful is that? Several other people said that they really specialize in working with students who feel misunderstood for a variety of reasons, maybe because they are twice exceptional, they have a couple different kinds of diagnoses. Maybe it's because they're gifted in some way and they're just not motivated by school. And all of the coaches who mentioned this, students who want to be understood, all told very personal stories about how they were misunderstood at school and what that was like and why they are passionate to help these students now. I hope you're noticing the theme here. This last one is helping students who have an intimate experience of anxiety and or depression because this particular coach has had to struggle through that. And so he specializes in working with students who have anxiety and depression. That didn't come out as articulately as I might have liked, but again, imperfect action here. What I truly want you to see when I list all of these, and I left several out, is how each of these are examples about how the person in question identifies in some way, in some deeply personal, vulnerable way, with the kind of student they want to work with in their business. And the more we can connect ourselves to our marketing language, the more successful we will be, and the more filled with a streaming flow of clients our businesses will be. So I am here to just tell everyone who is curious about starting a business to please be brave. Notice those little voices that keep you trying to be professional or general, wordsmithing too much, trying to keep it short or hold back in some way. And I want to just tell you to go out and be your big, bold, beautiful self. And if you want support with that, come find me at gretchenwegner.com. Take good care.